What up, y'all? It's your man, Mr. Martin 405, back with another video, man. And in today's video, I'm just adding them final touches to the exterior before I get it dropped off. I bought a tint set from Amazon, so I'm tinting my tail lights, my side markers. They have a couple different options. They have a, I'm gonna say it's like a light smoke, and then one that's a little bit darker. Go in there and double check. Y'all stay tuned. All right, man, welcome back. Anyway, yeah, decided to do something a little bit different. So in that way, if I feel like I got the ones that were too dark, which like I was saying, there's two sets you can get. There's a light smoke and a dark smoke. I believe I got the dark. This could be, I believe I got the dark. It's just a little bit darker than the other one. So, yeah, so I believe I got the dark smoke. Because the light smoke is more of kind of like a gray tint. If you have a C4, pretty sure they differ when it gets into the latter years in the 90s. But it seems like all of the 80s models would be the same, which I'll walk through getting the taillights off if you haven't taken yours off, which I find this method to be the easiest for me, or it could just be the method that you have to use. All right, so this will be the top once you get it out. Again, once I show you how I got mine out or what I used in order to get my arm back there to get my lights out. But of course, this is how they'll go in. I'm using this as a reference, so then therefore you can see where the screws are. They're not directly at the top and at the bottom. It's kind of more at an angle, as you can see, which I was going to say at the top and at the bottom, but it's kind of at an angle, so you just kind of got to feel your way around in there. But once you get it in there and you get your screw started, or should I say once you start getting your screw out, I'm getting ahead of myself with putting them back in there, you'll know where they are, and then you can move along with the next process on getting the next light out. But getting the first light out, all right, so I got mine off. I pulled, of course, my license plate, and then I ran my arm to the first light. And then once I ran my arm to the first light, I pulled out my first two screws. And then of course, once I get that light out, then I just basically ran my arm through this hole once I pulled this light out to be able to get to the screws in the next one. And you basically just repeat this cycle on the other side. So once you stick your arm in here and you get that light out, then of course you use this hole to get to your next light over there. Oh, all right. So again, people may have another way of doing it, but this has been the way that I've done it the last couple of times that I've pulled them. And the reason behind me actually even pulling these to tint them, or just pulling them in general, one, I'm getting ready to get it painted. And also along with that, two of them were cracked. So if you have tail lights in your C4 and they're a little loose, could potentially be one. Hopefully it's the first option is just a little loose because somebody changed the light bulb and they didn't tighten the screw back up, or they tightened it too far, which was the problem in my case. They tightened it too far and actually popped the housing and created a crack. So didn't matter how much more you tightened it, or if you did tighten it more, it just made the light loose. So this is one of the ones that I pulled off. One of them I threw in the trash because it was just completely broke, at least with this one, if I can get it to focus. With this one, it is cracked right there. You can see that. Yeah, so it's just cracked right there. So this one wasn't too bad. So I'm gonna keep this one just in case I do need another one. Something happens to one of my other ones and I need to have one on hand. But the other one, this whole piece, this part that's cracked on this side, all of this was gone. So if yours is loose, it's one or the other. Hopefully it just needs to be tightened down. and then you just tighten it up and you can go from there. If I want to unplug this, go unplug it. That's sidetracked. I am disassembling and taking off certain parts, so I'm actually looking at my backup camera, which I was actually going to leave on and just wrap it up, make sure it didn't get any overspray or anything on it, but I may just go ahead and unplug it for the time being and then put it back in there after paint. So also, I'll show you the rest of the stuff that comes in, because some of this stuff I don't think I'm going to use. Plus they give you a few extra things. One of the things that I'm going to do when I get it painted also is remove the third brake light from the bumper, because I have a third brake light up top. So I'm going to leave the one up top. Son, grab a seat. I'm gonna leave the one up top there, and I'm getting rid of that one. But I think I am going to cover the one up top. I have them for these on the sides and the rear. Also for sides here in the front, and then also your fog lights and stuff down here. All right, man, so now with those out, you have an idea on how to get yours out if you choose to go this route, which I'm choosing to go this route. So then therefore, if these are too dark or I so happen to not like them, I don't have to worry about stripping the paint off of them, because some taillights that I had in an older vehicle of mine, had a Ford Edge that I tinted the taillights on, but I actually used the, I'm trying to remember what brand that it was. Anyway, it was spray tint. So I put maybe 2 coats on there. I mean, it looked good. I was happy with it, but say you're not happy with it and say the paint fish eyes or it runs, or you have an issue with it sticking the way they're supposed to, then you have to worry about stripping that back off of there or scuffing it back down and trying to fix whatever issue that you have with it. At least with this set, you'll be able to readjust it. So with readjusting it, as soon as you get it, you will have, they don't actually come with the paper instructions. They'll come with this right here, which of course, once you scan that, it'll take you to the PDF and walk you through each instruction, which is pretty simple. So you'll basically want to make sure your taillights are clean first and foremost. In the instructions, they tell you to use isopropyl alcohol, but they want you to dilute it. I didn't go that route. I didn't use alcohol. I just kind of threw mine in the sink, used some dishwashing detergent and scrubbed them off, made sure they were oil-free, all that extra kind of stuff. I still started to use some alcohol, but that's pretty much what you're using alcohol for, is to make sure there's no grease or any dirt on them. So you can either go that route and use alcohol, or you can go the route that I used and, you know, wash them off, some dishwashing detergent to cut all the dirt and the grease off of there. Once you do that, like I said, a way to check and make sure that they are ready is doing a tape test. Now the tape test, you're basically gonna lay tape on top of it, and if the tape sticks, then you're good. So you're just gonna kind of lay tape all over the tail light to make sure that it sticks, because that's kind of how these are. They kind of have an adhesive on the back, but they also tell you to mix up a few drops of dishwashing detergent anyway in some water, kind of like in a spray bottle. I didn't do a spray bottle. I just ran a little bit of water into a cup, ran a couple drops in there, kind of shook it up, and then I used my hand to kind of rub it on certain areas of the tail light. So then that way you can kind of move it around. Anyway, son asking for cookies. But yeah, once you do that, drop a couple drops in there. If you have a spray bottle, I didn't have one on hand. I need to get me a couple more. I had them around for when I barbecue, to put different fruit juices in to spray on my meat that I was barbecuing. If you don't know anything about that, go do some research. It's a whole nother topic. But once you get them clean, once you get your soapy water to spray on there, that way you can move them around. It's almost kind of like pretty much the same process in tinting windows. So therefore you can slide it around and get it to where you need it to be. And then you kind of squeegee it out to your liking, making sure it's lined up. So, and obviously you can tell which ones were the factory lights that were in there. As you can see the white paint around the rim, which I'm probably gonna have to do something about that. Which again, this was one, whoever painted the car before, horrible job. One, you should took the taillights out or taped them off a little bit better. You see all the overspray around the edges, and then you see the ones that I replaced. There's no paint whatsoever on these, so may have to touch up those or something rather. So got these all clean. So this is what it's going to look like when you get one done, which I'm still kind of working out some of the bubbles. Is where that soapy water was, which if I don't get it out in this sitting, once I set it out in the sun and that water and stuff dries up in there, it'll kind of take care of itself. So difference between the two, not too bad. And some are probably gonna say, well, man, you're not gonna be able to see your tail lights once you put these back in, which again, I will do a test, and if they are too dark, I plan on taking them back off. But another thing that I also did was I changed all my bulbs. So my bulbs are brighter than the factory bulbs. I went with all LEDs in my tail lights and the side markers and my headlights, fog lights, pretty much everywhere. So I may not have an issue. If you hadn't gone that route, I would probably try it and see whether or not it's dark, too dark, or I would go with the light smoke. So then therefore you don't have issues with your lights not being bright enough. But yeah, it just gives you an idea of what it looks like. Let's see if I hold it up, let a little bit of light through there, which again, this is just your natural light coming in from outside. So it'll look a whole lot different once we actually pop the light back in there, which I'll show a little bit later in the video so you can see how it looks with the light actually on there. All right, so this is what came in the kit, minus the one that I already did here. So you get all the tail lights. These will go to your fog lights down in the front. I want to believe these are the side markers in the rear, the ones in the front, and then my third brake light. Now, the other ones, I don't know what those go to. This one may be back there in the back where that third brake light is on the bumper. And they may include these extras depending on what model C4 you have, if you have a convertible or what have you. But a couple of these I won't be using. I'll probably be doing my fog lights in the front, doing my side markers in the back, the ones in the rear, and then my tail lights. Still debating on, I may go ahead and do my third brake light above the back hatch. they're not too much darker. Letting them sit in the sun, get the rest of that soap and water out of there. So that gives you an idea. Looks like without, with. It's a little bit darker, not too bad. And these are the LEDs that I went with. Get that to focus. So they have bulbs all the way around, as well as the 3 up top. So like I said, they're much brighter than the factory bulb. Need to clean all this stuff off, rather dirty. All right, so this is what we're working with. I'll cut these lights on in a second so you can see what it looks like. And like I thought, I had to paint around these edges because you can see that white is versus those. So I had to do something about that. But let's see how it looks. Yeah, it's still plenty bright. So if you can see them in the daylight, you're definitely gonna be able to see them at nighttime. Not too bad. Of course they get brighter when you hit the brakes. All right, so done with another project, man. Got those tinted. I'm now demasking those 2 that I showed you that had the white on there, where whoever painted the car before my pops got it didn't mask the lights up right, so I had to mask those up and just shot around the edges, so therefore you wouldn't see that white after I got the car painted, because the other 2 don't have that issue. So like I said, they'll be bright enough at night. Right along with this joint right here. All right, man, so that's gonna wrap it up for another video. And to throw a few of these screws back in here just to keep these tail lights in. Make a quick trip to the gas station, put a little bit more gas in here. Let it sit a little bit longer. Get these last little things done. Get it ready for paint, man. Can't come fast enough.